Hey Dad, what's the benefits of growing a dwarf fruit tree and why do you grow them?
Hey, that's a really good question, Karen. And I'm sure heaps of people want to know the answer to that because there's some benefits for growing dwarf fruit trees. And actually, there's one big non-benefit that may help you make the choice of growing a normal fruit tree, even possibly in a small space. And we're going to talk about that further on down the line. Now, if Karen steps back, she can see we've got the mandarin tree here. Now, this is around about just over 5 foot high at the moment. We did a really good harvest of it. It was growing right next to a worm farm. And then that is not a dwarf fruit tree. And then we've got the big lime tree here, which we're going to come back to. That is not a dwarf fruit tree. But down here is our lemon dwarf fruit tree. And you can see it's only 1/3 the size of the other trees. And when you're starting out a garden, you're like, oh wow, man, I really wish I had a bigger tree, more fruit and all that type of stuff. But when you're growing a container, this is where they come in elements. Now, in the garden, in the backyard, there's some good and bad points. Now, if you've got a small space, a courtyard or whatever, and you've only got a little bit of area where you can grow roots, then a dwarf fruit tree is absolutely perfect. But the problem with them is they don't get a big root system. They're grafted to a type of rootstock, which you can see the graft here, Karen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's the actual rootstock that's being grown from seed, and then they splice it onto here, which is another part of a different type of fruit tree. This one's called a eureka. You can see we've got some lemons on here as well. Now, because the root system can't get so big, the tree won't grow so big, right? So that's good for the space, but it means less fruit over time and less fruit quickly. Now, how do we get around that? Well, we can actually plant a normal lemon fruit tree here. Now, I've decided not to because it's very close to the house and to the pathway, and I wanted to have a smaller one as an example as you walk into our little mini orchard. But if I was to use a normal fruit tree and I actually pruned it to the height that I wanted to keep it all the time, then I wouldn't have that problem. It'd be small anyway. And I would have a nice big root system that could feed and take up all those nutrients. In drier, leaner times, also it could take up more water, and we just manage the tree accordingly by shaping it into a vase and getting the fruit off that we need. But a big fruit tree, you may have to cut it back every few years and let it regrow again. A smaller one, the advantage is you wouldn't have to do that. So less hassle if you want to have the space accordingly. Now, any questions with that, Karen? Does that all make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually.
Is that the first time you've heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back and we'll show you the lime tree behind us here. If Karen steps back, now step back, Karen, step back. Karen, don't trip over there, darling. Remember the last video?
I didn't trip over.
There's no snakes behind you because it's too cold. Hey, look, we've got our first little lime here, which is really cool. Now, this tree, I reckon, is about 3 years old. It's probably been in a pot about 1.5 years, a year, and it's been in our garden for about 1.5 years. Now you can see the yellowing in the leaves. That's because it's winter time and it can't take up the minerals because the ground's too cold. But we're getting a nice flush of flowers, and so this is really great. And I'm really happy with this tree so far. And it's not a dwarf tree, and it's going to produce a ton of fruit. I love limes. Shirley doesn't like them so much, but I reckon she will over time. Now, have you got any more questions, Karen, about fruit trees and about backyard gardens? Anything that people would like to know something about? Because you don't know anything about them at all, do you?
No, not at all. Are you growing citrus trees?
Yeah, they're all citrus, all the down the line here. So we've got a mandarin, we've got a lime, and we've got a lemon, which are the most 3 common ones, really. We've got other fruit trees in the garden here as well. If you step back, you can see right down there, we've got a little tree behind you here. I want to show you another thing about mulching the trees, because you may have noticed as you come down here, I've got a lot of compost and a lot of mulch all around the tree, and it goes right out to the outside of the edges where the leaves are to the drip zone. And some people would think, hey, that's too much around the stem. Well, you can see here, there's no rot around there at all. Now, if it does get too wet, you want to pull that away like that. But this mulch will drop down really quickly, and you need to keep adding it. But the thing is, you don't add too much too quick because you want the moisture to get through. If you're putting too much mulch on and it's raining and watering and it's not getting through to the soil surface, guess what? You're going to have a dry tree. And what we want to do is we want to just build it up over time so the tree is happy and healthy and productive. And like, we're in the middle of winter here, so the trees are really quiet. This spring, they're just going to go absolutely mental. Keep an eye out for any updates. You may have a question, just like Karen did, about fruit trees in your backyard. Specifically, maybe dwarf fruit trees. I'd love to answer them for you, and we'd love for you to come back and watch. Well, actually go and watch one of our other videos, because we did a little tour around here. What was it called again, that video, Karen? Winter walkthrough. Yeah, the winter walkthrough. And we didn't even show the whole garden, did we, Karen?
No.
We shown maybe 2/3 of it.
Dad's hiding secrets.
Maybe, maybe. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming along and watching this video. Hopefully you got some really good tips out of that. And if you're going to grow dwarf fruit trees, take advantage of the small space and maybe even try growing them in a pot like we've got out the front yard. But that could be another video for another time. Keep on watching these little vlogs as we go around the backyard and teach you how to grow amazing fresh food at home so you can save money and keep all those nasty chemicals off the shelf and really get a lot of good nutrition at the same time. Have you been eating any of the mandarins, Karen?
No, I think Shirley has. She's been stealing them all.
I've been juicing the odd one too. All right, here comes the flexi hand. Are you ready? Give us a big thumbs up and say, thanks, Karen, thanks, Karen, thanks, Karen,
thanks,
for
Karen.
helping out with the video. She's doing great. Sound engineer and on the camera. Here we go. Flexi hand.